Hi everyone, welcome to week 2, an online lecture class posted a couple days later, but since it's online it shouldn't cause too much pain and suffering. Just wanted to make a note under resources, weekly slides, you'll see the lecture notes that I'll be using today. Those have been posted. You'll also see a new folder called supplemental. Underneath that you'll find strategic plan summary. We'll be talking about that during the lecture and discussion as well. So that's been posted, and then the link, obviously if you're viewing this, you've seen the link for this particular video lecture. So let's go to the slides, which, let's see, where are we here? No, right there. So we'll be talking about strategic planning, SWOT analysis, which is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Topic called competitive advantage. We'll look at a discussion of Cirque du Soleil kind of as a case discussion, and then we'll wrap that up with market and growth strategies and a discussion of that topic. One thing to make note of on Bridges under forums, there are 3 questions, 3 forums: the matrix, Cirque du What, and RWU SWOT. So what you'll find is when you go here, you'll see there'll actually be a topic, and then you'll be able to go ahead and post your thoughts and questions, and then look at what other people have done and respond to that. So if you start this, if I look at a day or two and haven't seen anything after you guys have had a chance to look at the video lecture, do your reading, and look at the slides, then I'll circle back and see what kind of technical issues, if anything, anyone is having in that regard. Hopefully not too many, but there always are some. So let's talk a little bit about strategic planning. It's a process that every organization and even individuals should go through, looking at what you're good at and seeing where you want to go. So any organization should have a plan. I would imagine that Roger Williams has a version of that. All companies need to have something in that regard. And a good part of a strategic plan is a marketing plan. It's always a written document, and it's put together by the organization to act as like a guidepost for what companies are doing and should be doing. So why do you bother writing it down? Why is that important? Well, it helps it, since it's written down, a lot of people can look at it, can be passed around. You can use it as a way to say, okay, a year ago, this is what we said we were going to do. You go back and you see how you're doing. It states the objectives clearly for everyone to look at. It's definitely a reference to what you do down the road. And it forces you to kind of look at what's going on from a competitive standpoint. You look at your operation internally. You look at what's happening in the greater world economically, legally, politically. And what it does is it allows you to go into the market with your eyes open, so to speak. So there's full disclosure there, which is kind of important. Every marketing plan has these components. There's a business mission or a vision statement. You have certain objectives for the business. You do a situation or SWOT analysis, that's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Then you put together a strategy based on your findings. You target a market, and then you use the 4 P's, which are product, in this case it says distribution, that's place, promotion, and price, to figure out what you're going to do. Those are the volume controls, or the knobs you have to influence things. You have a plan, it's written down, people look at it, they sign up for it, or they're told they need to sign up for it. Then you start implementing it. You look at how you're doing, and then based on that, you feedback, make changes, keep things the same, adjust accordingly, right? Any plan can't be static if things are radically changing both internally or externally in the company. So it's really important if you're looking at getting into a business, is saying, what business are you in? What are you all about? And you really should focus on markets rather than goods and services. This is what the market needs. Let's find out what they need, right? As opposed to saying, I got this thing, and you try to force it into the market. Strategic business units can be subsets. So you often start out as a business with maybe you're a one-trick pony, one product, one service, and then as time goes on, you maybe expand those and look at what's going on. So every organization should have some details on what it is as a mission. This is the mission statement for the American Marketing Association. And if you were to go to their website, this was just pulled right off of there. That's what they're all about and what they're trying to do. And based on that, there should be some products or services they offer in line with that. And a mission statement really is what business you're in, and it's kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, right? If it's too narrow, that's something called marketing myopia. If you're myopic, your vision, you have tunnel vision. If something's too broad, there's really no direction, so you don't really know what you're supposed to be doing. And if it's just right, then you're focusing on what the customer needs and wants are. So the reason I brought up Goldilocks and the Three Bears, if you remember the story that you may have heard when you were growing up, Goldilocks goes to the first bowl of porridge, too hot. Second one, too cold. Third one, just right. It's the same thing here. You've got to find something that makes sense and works for the competencies of the organization and what you're trying to do. Here's right off the website what Roger Williams' mission statement is. I encourage you to read it, look at it, and does it really tell you anything about what the school is doing? How different is it from mission statements and core values you see at other schools? I'd welcome you to sort of compare those. And I do ask you in one of the forums on the discussion board to look at doing a SWOT analysis and kind of figuring out what Roger Williams is trying to do, and are they different or better than anybody else? That's a good question. So marketing objectives are important parts of any kind of a business plan or a marketing plan. And to be a good marketing objective, you need to have these four conditions. It needs to be something that's realistic. You have to be able to measure it. It has to be time specific, and it should be consistent with what you're trying to do as an organization. So this particular one here, this marketing objective, definitely satisfies all of those. You're assuming that this company is in the pet food market, so they're talking about cat food and not bicycles, for instance. 10% is probably pretty reasonable in 12 months. If you're talking 50% in 12 months, that seems like more of a stretch. Growing 10% seems pretty good. You've obviously got measurable because there are numbers there, right? It's not like we're going to do better and do it soon. That would not be measurable. But this one satisfies all of those objectives, all of those requirements for good marketing objectives. You should always look at this as a filter whenever you are looking at trying to develop one. So with that in mind, you got to make sure everything gets communicated to people. It gets communicated far and wide and often, because sometimes people don't pay attention. It makes people focus. It helps hopefully motivate people if it's something that leads to financial gain. And it's a better way to sort of see what's going on. So I have this slide. So I worked for this company. I managed the marketing and strategy for this small semiconductor company. And if you're wondering what a semiconductor is, it's basically the brains and the heart and soul of anything electronic. So you may have seen some devices with printed circuit boards and these devices on there. They're called semiconductors. They come in a variety of form factors and shapes and sizes, and they kind of look like a bunch of these things. And they're really what allows electrical devices to work. Your phone wouldn't work without these things. It's essentially what makes it work. Cars wouldn't run the way they do without this to help control engine control and other features. Any kind, your computer that you're watching this on, same thing, right? Without any of these devices, they wouldn't work. And these things are made in what's known as a semiconductor fab or fabrication facility. These are pictures of what they are, and these wafers are actually examples of the devices and how they're made. It's a very exotic, very high-end, very expensive business to be in. These fabs now, modern fabs, cost over $1 billion. Or hundreds of millions of dollars for a smaller version. I happen to be in this business for years, so on our next class, on Tuesday, I'll bring along some of these things so you can maybe get a better handle for what we're talking about here. At least you'll be able to see them and handle them to see what they're like. It's one thing to see it in a picture, something very different to actually see it and hold it in your hands. So this plan here was something that we put together. It's dated, clearly. This was done back in '98, so you're talking almost 15 years ago. But this is an example of a company that I was a part of that did exactly what we're talking about. They put together a plan. This is available, as I mentioned, on Bridges, so if you're ever having trouble sleeping at night, you may want to open up this bad boy, and it'll probably put you to sleep pretty quickly. We did a SWOT analysis, right, and what the company was good at, not so good at, what opportunities and threats there were in the marketplace. We looked at target markets and segments, key issues for the company. We went ahead and actually had specific goals. You look at there, there's a minimum corporate goal of that's ROGI is return on gross investment. EBIT is earnings before interest and taxes. So there were very particular numbers that we wanted to do and when we wanted to do it. Minimum annual growth in sales revenue of greater than 50% by fiscal year 01. So this meets all those requirements and certainly in line with what we were trying to do. And there's a lot of detail in here, but even without not knowing anything, okay, we have these things that are called BCG matrices. BCG is a company, it's short for Boston Consulting Group. It's one of the premier consulting organizations in the world. Even though it's called Boston Consulting Group, it's headquartered in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And we were looking and using their techniques in these matrices to help figure out what our businesses were doing. And I'll circle back to this in a minute. There's actually a discussion board question that's related to this as well. So we'll come back to this. Let's see. Okay, we'll come back to these slides in a minute after we continue a little bit of what we're doing here. We'll go up a couple more slides and then I'll circle back for some detail on here. SWOTs, right? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What do you do well? This is usually typically a strength. What are you weak at? Obviously something the company doesn't do well. Very often you'll find that strengths are sometimes can be weaknesses depending on what's going on in your business. Those are, you look internally, you look inside, right? Do we have the lowest cost manufacturing facility? Do we have really great designers? Do we have patents that can protect our technology from being ripped off or copied? Those kinds of things. Do we not have the right kind of labor structure, and we need to get maybe outsource it or go to other lower cost manufacturing facilities? Opportunities and threats are things that are external, outside the company, that you can't control. So it could be economic, could be political, could be legal. Maybe if the greater economy is not doing well, that's going to obviously have an influence on your business and what's going on. So when you look at an organization, and you should always go through this kind of analysis, it's important to do it. And I gave an example in that report of exactly what we did. So components of a situation or SWOT analysis, right? Can you make stuff inexpensively? Do you have really good marketing techniques? Do you have a lot of money to spend? What's your brand or your image? Or you have technology maybe that somebody else doesn't have. That, and again, that's all sort of internal. If you're looking at opportunities or threats, there could be social, cultural issues. Demographics are changing. Our customer base is getting older, getting younger. What's happening down in Washington, what's happening at the state capitol. You had no competitors, and then all of a sudden you had plenty. So all these things have an influence on your business and what your marketing plan would ultimately end up being. Competitive advantage. What are you good at that is hard to copy and gives you significant benefit over a competitor? Sometimes it's cost. Sometimes it's something that you do differently. Or sometimes you just focus on a narrow area or a niche that may give you some kind of competitive advantage. For cost, it may be you can get materials cheaper than somebody else. Your plant produces them cheaper. Or you design products that allow you to make them least. So cost can be a very significant benefit and competitive differentiator for sure. Maybe in areas that you could do that is experience curves or the learning curve. The more you do something, the better you get at it. It takes less time for you to do these things, and so just maybe you've been building it enough that you have an advantage. Maybe it's because you've got a new way to deliver the product that nobody else has. There's all these kinds of elements of cost differentiation. Some of the best stuff is product or service differentiation, where you have something that's so unique, whether it's because of the people that you have, the expertise, you can just offer it lower than anybody can offer it. And sometimes your brand is very powerful. Like Coca-Cola is the most popular brand in the world. It has a lot of, so anything associated with that brand could provide you with an advantage over somebody else that's trying to get into a business. Maybe it's the dealers or the network that you have to get your product out the door. Could be service, right? You do a better job than somebody else. Who knows? This slide lists a bunch of different elements of competitive advantage. Sometimes it's just talented people, sometimes it's money, sometimes you just have a large network of customers and existing relationships, so for the people to go somewhere else might be hard. It could be you just have a big media budget and you can outspend and outpromote somebody so that they can't even get, a word in edgewise. Who knows? There could be a lot of reasons for that. Things that are sustainable competitive advantage that last for a long time. Patents, which are legal protection, or copyrights, which are legal protection for your name and image, can be very valuable, but they cost money to get. It could be that you have the store in the right place, right? Location is very important, and if you have that location where make it easy for people to buy, that could be a huge advantage. Again, promotion, being able out there and communicate the message better than other people. It could be that you have a new machine, new something that no one else has, right? Technology, and gives you some advantage as well. I list a whole bunch of organizations here, and normally if we were in class we would go ahead and kind of say, what do you think the competitive advantage is for this and that. We probably spend some time next week just spending out, reinforcing some of the concepts from this week, since it's an online class, and spend some time maybe hearing what your thoughts are on what the competitive advantage is for this sort of diverse group of, actually in one case a person, but organizations. Cirque du Soleil is a really interesting organization. They are a global organization. They are, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue every year. They keep adding shows. If you've never been to one of these shows, they're quite unique. I actually posted a discussion board question on Cirque du Soleil, and if you go and actually look at that, you'll find that there's a link to a YouTube video on this a particular Cirque du Soleil site. So what I'd like you to do is view that, take a look at it, and if you've never been to a show, give me an idea of what you think this organization, what is the product, what's unique about it, what's different, and why is it as successful as it is. And you can do a little supplemental research if you want, looking at Cirque du Soleil. Obviously check out that video. There's others. You can go to the Cirque du Soleil website and take a look at it, and that will help you with answering this particular question, or at least not answering it, but providing some comment. So here, this is a very simple BCG, Boston Consulting Group portfolio matrix. And if you look at any products, services, or companies, you can put them in one of these four quadrants, right? So they're either a star, problem child, a cash cow, or a dog. So a product or service or company that's a star is you think about stars, right? Go-to players on athletic teams, or people in the entertainment business, right? They command the most money because they're the best at what they do. And they get people's attention, and you don't have that many of them because they're just so talented. And there are products that are like that. They're better than anybody else. They can command a premium over that, and people still want and desire the products or services. Dogs, pretty simple, right? If you're in the doghouse, you're in trouble. Dogs, you just get rid of. You don't really care about them. They're not significant. They're just a drag on your business, so you get rid of them. If if they're not making money, they haven't been making for a while, and they just cause a lot of pain and suffering, you don't deal with them. You just say, sell them, end of life them, just get rid of them. They're not important. Cash cows are pretty simple. If you think of a cow, if you feed it grain or have it graze and you feed it every day, guess what? You get to milk it. So it may generate a fair bit of money for you, but maybe not typically, but it's always something you can count on. You put a little money in, you get a little money out, and it's dependable. Always there every day. A problem child is different. Problem child, maybe it's a new product you're going to have to spend a lot of time and effort and money to sort of get going. It might be challenging. Maybe, and so a problem child could become a dog, a cash cow, or star. Still haven't figured it out yet. So if you think of, again, any business or product, so when you go back, this is a 4-quadrant matrix, and actually, let me see if I want to, okay, so there's the one that was actually in the Cherry Semiconductor strategic report that I showed you that you could look at. And without knowing anything about, so, we were engineers, so we weren't happy with 4. We had to put, 9 categories. But here's the cash cow right here. The loser is the dog. The star is the obviously the star, right? And then these are a combination of problem children, wildcatters, gamblers, dark horses, right? You don't really know just those terms and expressions, right? You don't really know where they're going to go. So these were all individual businesses that our company had, our product lines, if you will. If you look at this chart, you know nothing about the industry, right? And look at, increasing competitive position going from up, bottom here to the top on the x-axis, and then the y-axis, market attractiveness increases as you go to the left here. So obviously, if you're a star, it's a very attractive market. You can make money, and you're really good at it. Now, if you're a dog, it's not an attractive market, and you're not very good at it. And then there's the combination of the rest of these things, right? So, clearly everyone wants to be a star, but they're not always there. Cash cow, not bad. Problem child, you're trying to figure it out. And a dog, no one wants to be a dog. And so if you look at the report, right, let's go right here. Where is she? There it is. Clearly in 1993, we remember this was done in 85, so 5 years later, the business wasn't doing too bad, actually, to be honest. It was doing pretty good. If you look at the, in 19 this would have been existing portfolio. So this would have been 1998. If you look at it, the business is not doing as well. These products have dropped. There's only one star, and the rest of them are kind of question marks, if you will. No cash cows. Where before when you looked at it, there weren't too many cash cows, but most of the businesses were stars and then some question marks, right? If you look at where the business was thinking or involved and moving forward, wow, a couple of losers and gamblers. Nothing up here to the left or up to the top. So the business actually and the work that was done when we did this said, you know what, we got some problems. And this very simple visual analysis, this BCG matrix, was a great way to sort of interpret that and look at it. Okay, we are right there. So it's a great tool. Everybody should use it in any kind of a business plan. So now you look at the strategies you have. You can either build a business, you can hold it, you can harvest it, or you can divest it. So you're always looking, right? You build a star. The people who are the best, you put the most money into them. Cash cows, it's like a crop. You harvest it, right? You put money in, it grows all summer long. You harvest it, right? So it's kind of like milking and harvesting, right? Kind of agricultural, if you will, references. Divest, you get rid of a dog or a loser. You just get rid of them. And then, the one on hold, that's probably a problem child. You got to figure out what you do. You don't put too much money into it. You got to determine whether it's going to turn into a star, cash cow, or dog. So those strategies move forward with the portfolio matrix, and it makes it easier for you to determine and invest. So if you're looking at these four terms, market development, market penetration, market product development, and diversification, if you're looking to get new customers, right, that's about market development. You got a new product you introduce into, or you're trying to go into an area where you don't have any sales. Market penetration is you already have some sales in the area and you're trying to get more. That's increasing your share. If you're looking at developing new products, totally new that you haven't offered before, that's product development. And if you do product and market development that's new, that's called diversification. Okay, those are alternatives you have for moving a business forward. Ansoff's matrix is just a visual way of showing this right here. It's just a different way to kind of think of it, right? So if you're in an existing market with an existing product, you're trying to grow share, that's market penetration. If you're in a present market and you have a new product, that's clearly product development. And if you're in a new market, right, and you have an existing product, you're trying to develop that market. And if it's both new from markets and products, that's diversification. So that's really the same thing as the other slide, but thinking about it a little differently. So you always got to have a strategy for a target market, no matter what you're doing, okay? And target markets segment markets into smaller, more manageable and well thought out markets, so that it just makes it easier to figure out how to tackle the business, and you're not going after the whole thing. So appealing to an entire market with one marketing mix is tough. Concentrating on one segment can be hard. Appealing to markets with multiple market mixes can be sometimes a bit more efficient. So I was a little over, or almost 25 minutes, about 5 minutes over than what I typically try to be. Again, for many of you that haven't done online classes, this is kind of how it rolls. It works for some people, not for others. We will do some coverage and some review, if you will, at the first part of next week's class. So hopefully it wasn't too painful for you, and give me a shout if you have any questions. Thanks.